This is the Masonic Light Podcast featuring Pete Ruggieri and Larry Maris. A non-stuffy, somewhat humorous approach to understanding our craft. We guarantee you'll have a good time or your money back. This podcast is not endorsed or approved by the Grand Lodge or any jurisdiction. In fact, they'll probably hate it. And now, here's our host, Pete Ruggieri and Larry Maris.
Welcome, everybody. We're back. I think we're getting better. We figured out how to set this equipment up. We're recording here in the Lancaster Masonic Center in the dining room. The Harold and what's the guy's last name? Schmuck. We're in the Schmuck dining room, which is pretty appropriate.
And his wife,
Mr. and Mrs. Schmuck.
Yeah, I heard they were a bunch of schmucks.
And because the Schmucks are here and Mrs., we have our first guest for today, or in our new production facility, and it'd be Jona Hoover
Green.
That means good.
Jona Hoover Green.
Oh, you got married. Oh, that's why
happens.
There's that little boy behind you.
And there's a son right there. I think so.
Jona Hoover Green. And so, Jona, the rules here are pretty simple. You can chime in whenever you want. We're going to ask you some questions later. But first, we're going to introduce our co-host. We got Larry Maris.
Nice to be here.
Nice that you're here.
Yeah.
And Jason Lewis.
Glad to be here as always.
And who's our new audio engineer. And who's your guest there, Miss Jona? Who's
my trusty sidekick, Holden, is with me.
Hey, Holden.
He is excited to be along and not have to carry dishes through the Masonic Center dining room today. That's his. He's a busser, hoping to move into serving.
Well, Jason brought a treat over there on the table. You might want to share with us.
I think he already had some donuts.
Oh, okay. Brought some donuts from Byler's Donuts.
I'm very excited about that. But it's next to my mean cup fix.
Yeah, it's great. Holden, you don't have a mic, but give us a what's up.
Proof of life over there.
How's it going?
There we go.
Hey, there you are.
Awesome.
Sound good.
All right, so Larry, what's going on? Anything going on in your Masonic world in the past?
Well, a little bit more active than the last show we had. Goose and Gridiron, of course, is really, really active. We had something unusual. We had kind of like family day at the Goose and Gridiron. And family showed up. My family from France came in, and John Reese's kids from Texas came in. We had a nice gathering, and we were very happy with that. But the real good news is Jason ordered the pins, and they should be here any day now.
About 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But close.
It's not magic, Larry. Yeah.
I had no idea I missed family day at Goose and Gridiron.
Yes.
I'm like, Dad, how was your breakfast to program the world? Like, did they give you the marching orders for taking over yet? That's always every Thursday morning. You can find out what's the deal.
I think the unspoken rule with Goose and Gridiron is that kids are always welcome, but it's unspoken, so nobody's jumping up and down about it. But they're obviously welcome.
Yeah.
And if you listen to episode 10, you would have heard about the exact same Goose and Gridiron that we attended, because we've recorded almost back to back.
Right, and Larry totally blocked out and forgot a week.
It's still exciting,
Did I mention
Larry.
that the last time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Jason, did you do anything Masonically since then?
Oddly enough, I went to Goose and Gridiron last Thursday, and everybody's family was there. It was amazing. And I heard some French kids shot some guns.
Yes, I heard that too. Well, yesterday I had the two of you over at my house. That was the closest thing I had to Masonic. And we drank some really crappy beer that was left over from our Colonial Grotto Association meeting. We had some National Bohemian from Baltimore.
And Pabst Blue Ribbon.
And some Pabst Blue Ribbon from
You have to invite Matt Green.
Jersey City.
He loves the low class beer.
Oh, very nice. So I got
man.
that
was low.
The good news is I still have some left. Magically, all the Jameson and the Scotch got drank, but just plenty of beer left.
I would have drank more, but I was on my deathbed. Still don't feel 100%, but I'll try not to infect you guys.
Yeah.
I left shortly after Jason did.
Yeah, keep your sinus infection over there.
I had to call Jonah.
Maintaining a safe distance.
Yeah, seeing as how the mics are color-coded, we should
you
make
get
them
the
a sign.
green for sick.
Yeah.
I have the orange Donald Trump microphone. Larry's is blue, like another part of his anatomy.
Blue like his political affiliation.
Pete, you've got some really good news about you, about the Grotto hosting the Colonial Grotto Association last weekend.
Yeah, we talked about that on our last broadcast.
No, we didn't. It didn't take place before our last broadcast. Bozo.
I thought I almost had him. So, yeah, we had the Colonial Grotto Association in town, and it was kind of neat. We had the current president is David Hinton, and he is the past monarch of Samus Grotto in Richmond, Virginia. They are an old grotto, and they have a building. They have an old movie theater, and it's really, really cool, and it's right like downtown Main Street. So he is also a bagpipe player, and he's been he's in like some like rock and roll kind of bands with bagpipes called the X Band. So you can probably look him up, the X Band. So he brought his bagpipes with him.
I did not know there was going to be a talent portion of the.
Well, we didn't
tonight.
either. So the big thing was Saturday. Neither the vice president or the second vice president showed up at the Congress. So normally in Masonic things, if you just have a heartbeat, we promote you.
Hey, you with your eyes open.
Yeah, we
in the
promote you.
back.
Yeah, so I guess I was sitting in the front row, and I got
Rookie mistake.
Yeah,
You should
I
be
am.
well past
I am
that.
now the president of the Congressional Grotto Association.
Right to the head of the line.
Oh yeah, they just moved me right in. So that was fun, and then we went to dinner downtown, and Prophet David brought his bagpipes, and he led us all through downtown with our bagpipes while we're wearing jackets and fezzes.
Now that had to be awesome.
It was slightly embarrassing, but I managed to get enough drinks in me that it was fun.
See, this is very threatening. This is how the overthrow of governments happens.
Exactly.
A bunch of guys in formal wear with a bagpipe. Look out.
And the good news is we went into an Irish bar, and I guess they didn't check his paperwork that he's Scottish, but they let him in, and he was playing Happy
His money will
Yeah, he was
spend.
playing Happy Birthday and Annie Bailey. So
Oh, boy.
for people,
Cool.
it was a good time. Is that it? Did you have any Masonic going on in the past?
We're
Recently?
in like Masonic preseason. Like we're getting all the newsletters ready, all of that stuff. I've got a couple of fundraisers in the works, those kind of things.
All right.
Dinner theater. It's popular with the appendant bodies. That's what we're the appendant bodies,
Yeah.
affiliated bodies. I don't know what we are.
It's something like
Co-ed organizations.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, and then
Wait, hang on.
Oh, here we
I
go.
do have one thing. Well, it's not me. It's for Jona. I know it's not necessarily you, but I believe one of your spawn had DMLA. Keyman.
Yes.
Yeah.
My oldest child went to Keyman. I like offered
Is
him
that
on
is
the
that like
altar.
is that like Burning Man?
It was, I don't know. I wasn't there. I said to him one time, I saw that some other parents had stayed for one of the events. I said, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry I didn't know I could stay." He goes, "I know. I feel really bad for those kids."
We'll need to post this picture on the
That's
Facebook page.
the best.
But the entire Keyman. So Keyman is like a big leadership thing that the camp that these
To the
these
rest of the
youth
world,
do.
I said he was at leadership camp because otherwise I don't have half an hour to
Is
explain.
it kind of
this
like
to
it's
you.
kind of like Trump University?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
I don't know how many kids were there. There had to be 50, maybe 100 kids.
I think 103.
103. And the Right Worshipful Grand Master came out and spoke to everybody, and there's all sorts of counselors from all over the state. I mean, it's a huge deal.
There
And
was Canadians there.
and they take, oh, really?
Yes.
Courtesy salute.
So they take a massive picture at Masonic Villages, everybody, and they must have been taken with like a drone or something because it's a nice aerial shot. And there's one kid that, we're not on video here, but he's got his cheeks puffed out.
It was
like
this face.
Like a chipmunk.
Well, didn't you? Somebody shared a great picture. Was it your son or this one?
Yeah, it was him.
Yeah.
This
What
is
was
the
that
kid.
one?
That was
What
the
was that
kid like,
photo?
"Oh my gosh, is it over yet?"
Yeah. So yeah, you're a very photogenic family.
How long do you figure the photo session lasted, bud?
Like a minute.
Like a minute? How
There's
long
no
were
way.
you? How long was like the lining up and getting everybody in?
You mean everything?
Yeah, that whole
Like 10
process.
minutes.
10 minutes. That's
yeah,
all.
that's too long.
He's not well prepared for masonry if he can't
No.
sit through
Oh.
10 minutes.
No, not at all.
That'll
It'll-
come in his second year of DMLA.
It'll get beaten out of him.
That's like halfway through the short way of opening. So, in any event,
All right, we'll go
Break
to a
time?
quick break, and we'll come back with what we're going to let Larry shine, and he's going to interview
Dun, dun,
Mrs.
dun.
Green. You're listening to episode 11 of the Masonic Light Podcast, brought to you by R. Scott Hoover, your personal painter. Hey, and we're back here at Masonic Light Podcast. This is Pete. We got Larry and Jason here with us, and our special guest, Jona Hoover Green.
That's me.
So, Jona, could you get? We're trying to get like just a brief synopsis of about you. What's
My regular life.
just tell
Is
us
that-
about your non-Masonic life. Tell us about your life.
I usually tell people I'm a Lancaster County girl. I graduated from Millersville. I got drugged to Montana and ended up, I came home with a baby and a master's degree and the same man that I went with, so that's always a plus. And now we have 2 boys.
Were you in a compound out there or something?
No.
Okay.
But I could tell you where to find them. Like, I got a bunker waiting. And now I teach higher ed in Reading at Berks Technical Institute,
Nice.
in between my many nights at the Lancaster Masonic Center.
And how about so when did you start getting involved? I don't know if it's one of Larry's questions. How long have you been in the Masonic family?
I should say I was born into a Masonic family. I, have the benefit to have grown up around it, but the first thing I ever signed was a paper with purple ink on it when I was 11, because Job's daughter's color is purple, and so their applications and stuff is purple ink. Sign on the line.
Very nice. And we're going to let Larry take over, and I'm going to go eat a donut.
All right. We didn't get into the nitty gritty, but you have here's something we talked about last night. What do you call
In the pre-interview,
appendants,
not a bar.
that are Eastern Star, that are Amaranth, where they're co-educational or strictly ladies or women? What do you call that? And they're part of our family. But I struggled with the
They're
names.
sort of in the Masonic constellation of options, but I think the technical word, like what I had heard before, was the appendant bodies or Masonic affiliated organizations. I don't like when people say the women's organizations, because they really are co-ed, which sounds collegiate, but it's for men and women.
I've said auxiliary because I think that other organizations. I know.
Of a volunteer fire department.
But I think that other folks understand
That's a good
that
term
aren't,
to
right.
use to the uninitiated if you're trying to explain what it is.
Profane.
Shut up! I got to have a
This
donut
donut
now.
is freaking amazing.
Is that the Oreo?
I got the Oreo donut.
Shout out to Byler's, by the way.
New donut place in town called Byler's Donuts, but they've been rocking out donuts for years in Philadelphia's Reading Terminal Market. And so I think it just shortened all of our lifespan by about 5 years.
But it's so worth it.
And they moved right in next to Mean Cup, which is a Masonic Light pre-planning coffee joint.
Jona, you are the oldest of 6 kids.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Let's start this over.
Just keep it running, Jason.
Just keep going. So Larry bought himself a new mic stand, and he can't figure it the hell out, and it's driving him nuts.
It is
We really need to have some.
absolutely freaking awesome.
Larry
video
looks like he
cast
has
going
his
on.
act together more than the rest of you. I'm
Yeah,
just
but I
saying.
don't.
I'm a professional with my
Thank you for
donut.
that. Okay, but you're the oldest of 6 kids. You have 4 brothers and another sister,
Yes,
which growing up, that was a lot of responsibility for you.
a lot. So I
Especially
was
with the
always
4
happy.
boys, they were
I was
awful.
always happy to go away on Job's daughter's functions because it got me out of the house from the rest of those kids.
Not only that, you grew up in a family where your grandfather was a Mason.
Both grandfathers.
Both grandfathers. Your dad's a Mason,
Yes,
and your mother was extremely involved in Eastern Star.
yes. I thought everybody's dad had a tux. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. My mom left once a month in a white dress. Your dad has a tux. Like, isn't that everybody's house?
How did that have an impact on you?
Well, when I was really young, not so much, but because there was a bunch of kids, so we were pretty involved with that. My dad didn't go through the chairs or anything in masonry then, and I really thought he was going to die as a member of Blue Lodge. That was kind of like his hallmark, although he has failed miserably at that in the last 3 years, thanks to Pete mostly.
Because I got him.
I don't know what your gateway drug into the higher degrees was, but Pete opened the door and then they just like kicked it down.
All I know is when I joined Lamberton Lodge, your dad was like senior deacon. And now that it's 15, 20 years later, he's still like senior deacon.
He loves it.
Junior warden.
Well,
Took
yeah,
one- took
yeah,
one
but
for
he
the team.
keeps graduating, and then he's like, now you go ahead.
We got it.
Yeah. So.
And he's Tyler for life in the Lodge Perfection.
Yeah, actually, he joined Grotto. Has a great time.
And he's so
Somebody has to be the DD for Grotto
Yeah,
is what it comes down to.
Exactly.
There has to be someone to fill out the report if anything goes down.
Exactly.
Yeah. But growing up, it was really like my activity. My mom had been in Eastern Star when we were young. she was worthy matron, and then she was a deputy when we were still all at home and things like that. So we got to see her service and that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until we were 18 and could sign on the line for ourselves that it really got wild.
You're using wild and Eastern Star in the same sentence?
Ooh, you don't know. See? You got a whole arm of tattoos left for these places.
I know.
You got to talk to your boy Lewis over here. He knows about it.
Not Eastern Star. I know about Amaranth. I know that I went to one meeting, and that's pretty much enough.
Well, my only run-in with Eastern Star when I was a little younger, some ladies came up to the 4th floor and said, could you help us out and help us carry there's a rug. Somewhere in this building, there's a rug on the 3rd floor that they roll out for either a degree or maybe just a regular meeting. So we're carrying this rug down, and we start rolling this out, and it's a black rug with a white pentagram on it. And I'm like,
colors, also colors.
Oh, there's colors too,
yeah.
but I'm like, so when people have these funny stories about Freemasonry, it's you guys. And she was, she had a good sense of humor. She's like, well, somebody's got to do the hard work.
That's right. Once they find out that the real secret is pancake breakfast, it's such a letdown. They have to look for some other symbols.
How many generations, and I found this interesting, how many generations has your total family been involved in Freemasonry?
Well, trusty sidekick here makes it generation 5.
Generation 5.
My grandfathers separately gained a favorable view of Masonry, is that the accepted term, in World War II. And in separate places, came home, and one encouraged his wife to join, and she became a member of Eastern Star, and his mother is what kicks us back that other generation, that it really came in at my grandfather's, but then one of their moms. So thanks, World War II, for, saving democracy and promoting Masonry.
It's when we had our biggest growth as a craft, and we haven't been close to that since.
So with your family, because I know your family is also very involved in church activities.
Yes.
And your church is, I would call it, it's not, it's a different world here in Lancaster County, because you guys aren't as conservative, say, as like the Mennonites and the Amish.
No.
But it's still a pretty conservative church.
Pretty conservative church we grew up in, absolutely.
Right. So what are their feelings of Freemasonry? Because
generally not favorable, but I really think that it's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding. I loved hearing that from Chris Rodkey when he was here before, because there's a lot of things that I don't know that I'm just willing to take on my understanding and what I see, because there's not what people make a fuss about is that, well, these are religious organizations. I was like, no Mason is telling you this is a religious organization. You labeled it as such. So I don't get caught up in their interpretations of what we do, and I try and
they don't whisper when you come in the room and walk
probably
away.
But there's 6 of us. I'm used to that. So Hoovers have broad shoulders for that. We're a bad test case. Yeah. But I try and let them know that it does. If there was something that was there that was counterintuitive, or not counterintuitive, but
against your beliefs,
against our beliefs, or against that. My dad has a whole step that he goes through. He's first a Christian, husband, father, American, Mason, I'm pretty sure is the lineup. And if any of those things underneath falls out of line with the things above, then it doesn't work for him. And so I think that you can absolutely find other things, but it's a great way to interact with people who have different views and to be able to learn from them. People have value beyond their eternity.
Ooh.
I always had
creepy music for that.
I'm looking at you, Lewis.
Looking at me. Jeez.
I always had difficulty with the religious aspect, with the problems that we seem to have with religion, and it's been going on for 300-400 years actually. And to me, it was promulgated by one specific church, one specific religious organization, and I won't mention the name anyway. But what happens is all the different Protestant movements, the various evangelical movements, they've adopted what that universal Catholic Church has found what they thought wrong with us. And they're following in their footsteps, but at the same time, they would condemn that universal Catholic Church.
Apparently, Larry just became our guest.
Well, I was going to say, I was thinking about that, Larry. Like, I don't know that it was that the church has had problems with Masonry for 300 years. I think that the modern church has problems with Freemasonry, and some of it is semantics. Like, if you read prayers out of a school book from 80 years ago, I think that you could find theological issue with them. Mm-hmm. But
actually,
there was political issues before. I mean, there's a whole anti-Masonic party because they wanted that power. Once they figure out it's pancakes, very disappointing.
Just remember, Larry, the Jacques de Molay got burned at the stake. So, we're just getting even. Yeah, they started it. That's what we
got a chip for centuries.
I just want to point out that I have a new pancake pin for my fez for Grotto, and it's been months that I've been able to show anybody. I'm so disappointed. My fez is in the car, but
that summer break is rough.
You keep saying pancakes, and I've been itching to show off this pin.
One of the things yesterday we talked about was
he keeps referring yesterday.
We had a long conversation late at night.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's so un-American. Michael Phelps is getting his 20th and 21st medal, and he's like, "Oh, no Olympics." And he's actually said a very bad word before the Olympics.
Note to Scott Hoover: there was no swearing involved in this show so far.
You have, and you said this explicitly to me, and it impressed me very much, that it was a goal of yours to maintain a tradition while at the same time remaining relevant.
Yes.
And I thought those are some of the best phrases or words I've heard in a long time. How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't have good answers on that. I'm trying to hang on long enough that we can figure it out. There's definitely an old guard in every organization. I love that Holden spent 1 week with de Molay and already knows Mason jokes about changing light bulbs. But
there's only 3 Mason jokes. We established that last week.
No, he has a new one for you.
Oh, let's hear it. Come on.
Oh, come on.
How many Masons does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know how many.
3. 1 to screw in the light bulb, 1 to take minutes, and 1 to say that's not how we used to do it.
That's good. That's good.
So but that balance between being something that carries on the traditions and has all of the beautiful heritage of these organizations, which I desperately love, but also can function in society today when people are committed to soccer practice and everything else that, to head of household issues, all of that stuff.
So what does are you past worthy matron, or what are you with Eastern Star?
Yes. Past matron, and also for Amaranth, past royal matron.
Okay, so
past honored queen, past state sweetheart. How long do you have?
So, okay. Now, maybe to try and explain, give me the 30-second speech about what Amaranth is.
Amaranth originally was a further degree of Eastern Star. There's some others in that category too. So Amaranth would look a lot like Eastern Star, white dresses. Also, we have, a Mason involved. I don't think anybody gets an obligation anywhere that it's not a guy in a tux, I think is how they like that to be moved forward. But so it's a co-educational organization also. In Pennsylvania, it's much smaller than Eastern Star. And of course, almost everyone who is in Amaranth was first in Eastern Star or comes, through both doors. But
okay. And what would be the explanation for about Eastern Star if you had to do a 30-second on Eastern Star?
Eastern Star is the largest fraternal organization that extends membership to both men and women. International organization. Lots of charitable focuses. Amaranth fights diabetes is the short answer for that. Eastern Star has tons of charitable focus.
As we're wolfing down donuts, I guess we're on the diabetes side.
We can help you.
When Jason explained Amaranth to us several weeks ago back,
he did pretty good. I was listening.
But I was so
He
confused.
paid attention.
I was so confused. I'm thinking that it was a liqueur that they banned in France because it could kill you. And I'm stuck here. You mean there's an organization that drinks this stuff? I know. Now I found out.
I'm a gin girl.
He keeps thinking he's funny. It's hilarious.
But Amaranth is set up as a queen's court. So the royal matron has a crown, the whole deal. There's a sword. The women wear gloves. It's
barely a sword. You could put olives in it. have a martini.
Okay.
That's the grotto version.
And like, is there any movement anywhere to make either Amaranth or Eastern Star kind of fun to attract the younger women?
Well, no, people have varying definitions of fun. So I think that Amaranth, because it's smaller, the expectations are different with Amaranth maybe. They have beautiful ritual work. They have fantastic members. But we have a fun weekend. Eastern Star, it's hard to get everyone around a table for stuff like that. And so a lot of the fun happens on the chapter level, where Amaranth is in Pennsylvania. You can still get people around a table in a conference center for the state level. So it's more fun at the state level.
Okay.
Does that still sound positive?
Yeah.
They're both
Absolutely.
fantastic organizations. And some people really have sort of an affinity for one. But there's a lot of, back and forth between like, oh, are you a member of both organizations? No, none of the men that you see in any of these are in one organization. Like, that's ludicrous.
I think there is a challenge in Lancaster about Amaranth. Is Eastern Star used to meet here, and they don't meet here anymore. And Eastern Star being, in my opinion, the more popular of the two, it's not as accessible as Amaranth. Amaranth does meet here, and it's inexpensive to join, and it's a very nice group. So here's my plug, even though I've been picking on Amaranth. I mean, I think Amaranth is a great co-ed organization, and it's not expensive enough to keep you away to check it out.
It would make a lovely tattoo. That's all I'm saying.
I have a Jeep, and I have very limited bumper space, so I'm running out of space for emblems.
But the ritual work is spot on. It's great. Even a light version of Commandery in a sense.
Okay.
So.
Swords. That's the tie-in there.
Swords. All about swords. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Larry's got his legs crossed, and we'll be right back. Brothers, are you having trouble keeping up with your honey-do list? Are you overwhelmed with your job, no free time, and then you still have to go to lodge? If you need anything painted, R. Scott Hoover's the man. But it's kind of mysterious, just like anything in the Masons. You can't really just contact him directly. You have to contact Masonic Light, and we'll pass that on. But I guess the good thing is if we actually book the business, then we'll get 10% and we can keep the lights on. So remember, R. Scott Hoover, your personal painter. Thank you so much.
Also, special thanks to our advertisers, especially Masonic Scarves. Guys, I'll tell you what, if you need custom-made scarves of the finest quality knitting, the finest colors available, give us a call at Masonic Scarves. Call us, email us, do whatever you can, but get your order in there. It takes 4 weeks to get them. We can put your lodge number on there. We can do anything for you to make these things really great. Give us a yell. Contact us by email, call us on the phone, however you want to do it, and get your order in. Remember, I have a feeling this is going to be a very cold winter.
Larry's. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm here to help speed things along for Larry. So he's going to go through a very long-winded question and ask Jona about her transition from Joby's to Eastern Star. Larry, come on, jump in, ask some questions.
Yeah, okay, that's hard to follow.
We had a beautiful conversation last night. That's what Larry wants to say. It was so good.
Do people ask you, because you're so affiliated with Masons, family Masons, do Masons control the world?
Oh,
Larry, you can't even control your microphone.
That's what it is. I'm like, everybody who thinks Masons are trying to take over has never seen you guys try and get into parade formation. Like, for real, buffet lines is about your limit.
Oh, I had a march in Commandery. It was terrible. We were not storming anything.
Masons are kind-hearted. They will do anything for you, but there's not like the vile take over the world plan that just doesn't exist here. That's not what's happening.
Well, you recruit people, and you do a lot of that.
I do.
I think you told me last night that you had at least 20 signatures you signed within the past whatever. And
not all of them. I wasn't related to all of them.
How do you recruit them? I mean, what do you tell them to get them to sign on the line?
Mostly, we're going to have a good time. There'll be snacks at the end.
Okay.
And we do a lot of good work. But for real, there's a lot of parts of it that trying to explain it just removes the beauty of it. You can't over-explain it when someone's excited about doing it. I want their questions to be answered. I want them to feel comfortable. But if you're here to analyze this too much, it's probably not the right place for you.
You said something about the first Masonic lie, and I loved it. I loved it. It was great.
That's what you tell people, you should join the lodge. It's only one night a month. And then how long? You haven't had dinner at home in 9 years. You forget what your dog looks like.
First Masonic lie. I love it. Are there more?
I don't know. I think it's the take over the world thing. Like, don't worry, we're going to give you a lot of power. We're super important. There's all kinds of...
Mine was, could you come to the extra meeting? We need you just to fill in at one of these lower chairs.
Right.
Don't worry, you won't have to say anything. 4 years later, I'm sitting in the East. Yeah, right.
Oh, no, just come check it out. We're going to have a good time. Nothing big's happening tonight. Bam, now you're secretary.
We should write like a booklet or something like that, explaining the 25 misconceptions or whatever about Freemasonry. That would be awesome. There'd be like 100 different things you
maybe
can do.
Maybe that can be your fourth book, Larry.
We need a pamphlet.
Once you get the second one out.
Yeah.
I think, too, that what's great about Masonry is that it's flexible, so it operates differently for different people. If you're looking for one night a month, you can be a one night a month Mason. If you don't have a good support structure and other things in your life, this is a great place for that, for you to tap in and to be able to give back. When we were in Montana, we had a church out there. We were really involved in other things. But when things went south, it was Eastern Star who showed up for us. And I really appreciate that about the international brotherhood, whatever you want to say that it is. Holden, knows he has friends in Canada now. Very international Canada. Hey. So I traveled to Australia with Job's daughters and things like that. So that sort of comfort level is nice to know about.
That is pretty cool.
It's cool.
There's a lot of pressure.
Holden, why don't you tell your friends about this podcast so that they listen and they can listen for you and maybe pass the word to their fathers and mothers about how great this show is?
You're definitely missing the DMLA demographic in Canada. We got more 13-year-olds. They're listening to podcasts. They have lots of time
yes,
for
they
this.
do.
Well, that's our audience. We're trying to figure out a way, generally in Freemasonry, how to.
Could you be a Pokemon hotspot? Can you work that out?
This is a Pokemon hotspot.
Fabulous.
This is not a gym. It's just a hotspot. I caught something really creepy in the alley, by the way.
That's what she said. So we're live on Facebook for the last 2 minutes, and the title of this live stream is Darn It, Larry, Talking to the Mic. And for the last 2 minutes, you've talked directly into the mic, and you're letting all of our fans down.
Oh, you wanted me to do this?
Well, that's what you usually do.
Larry's important in the pre-production stage. That's why. His true gifts are in the interview.
One of the things, too, I want to talk again, try to refresh your memory. You had mentioned
the second I ended, he goes off mic.
That Holden is so involved in this. And you mentioned that, like, other kids may get involved in football, sports, high school types of things.
That's why the Hoovers are big in masonry. We're not sports ballers.
That's it. And I think you said, let me quote you, that in our family, we pass on a legacy. That's what we do. I thought, man, this lady here comes up with some good stuff.
My undergrad degree is communications. Like, they didn't send me that paper in the mail, Larry.
Oh.
Larry, see, she's teaching us how to talk into the microphone.
It is.
Anytime there's some dead air, she
Don't touch the table.
Yeah, anytime there's some dead air, she quick jumps in to say something while you're fumbling.
I love that's really one of the things, whatever your heritage is, you want your kids to take it away. I don't want this story to end with us. And so to have Holden and, there's a whole pack of kids after him is the best part. We're a ripe recruiting area. But to be able to join in that, to know what's going on, all of those things is super important. And he carries a heck of a bus tray, so we appreciate his service there.
Absolutely.
How did your children avoid J names?
You know what? I really would have had 2 H's, but I got overruled. So I have Holden and Kenton.
HIJK. At least we're in the same. So could you? So for the people that don't know the Hoover family,
Boy.
could you go from oldest to youngest and give your siblings.
This is the
names.
point where Jason's turning out, just so you know. I'm the oldest, Jonna, then Jared, Judah, Jason, Jocelyn, and Josiah.
Not at all biblical names.
No.
A couple of them.
Yeah, a few.
Actually, it sounds like a Mormon family.
Josiah has 3 J's.
Yeah.
He has Jack, Justice, and Job. But
Yeah, well, I mean, my family sounds like it's either the Beatles or the Saints. It's Peter, John, Paul, Mark. Yeah, Lisa and Dean.
I never see them. Or have they disowned you? Is that what it is? Do they live far away?
I am not. I'm from a different place, so they don't even know where I live. I'm in the Mason relocation program. So
I love it.
The members of my family are referred to as idiot, fools, and criminals.
Very nice, Larry.
Don't you give them a shout out at the end of the show?
Yeah, I do.
I like that. At least you got guns in their hands.
Yes, we did.
So I have a question for you, as someone that's I'll put you a leading authority in ladies organizations or co-ed
Excellent.
organizations. So one of the
There
problems.
are past grand matrons literally flipping their gourd right now over that. But
yeah.
I'll speak for the team.
So I don't want to get beaten when my wife hears this. I'm just trying to figure out the proper terminology. I wouldn't call her a feminist, but she's very into, feminist type causes, and
Not actual feminism, just sort of feminism.
So, I mean,
She has her own podcast called Feminism Light.
No, yeah. I mean, she shaves her armpits and stuff. I mean, she's cool. What? Oh,
There's going to be a Cosmo tweet for that.
yeah, I know. Well, see, that's how we're going to get listeners. I'm going to make people mad, and we're going to get listeners. So, so there was some work afoot a couple years ago. Some ladies wanted to start what's called a cauldron. That'd be the ladies' auxiliary of the grotto. It's called Daughters of Makana. And so my wife was in on the early discussions, but they lost her at the point where you had to have that Masonic relationship. So she wanted to join. She could join because her husband's a Mason. But like one of her good friends at work is Korean. There's nobody anywhere in her family. So the only way that she could ever be allowed to join a Masonic organization if she was to marry one.
Do you not know about the secret uncle clause?
They did not tell us about the secret uncle clause.
There's no actual genetic test to see who is your uncle that signed the petition. I don't have any direct knowledge of things like that, but
Okay, because that's what kind of rubbed her the wrong way, because she took it as if you're not, any man, as long as they believe in God, can become
supreme being,
a supreme being, can become a Freemason. But because of the rules, not any woman can join the female organizations. She took it as you need to be born into the right family, which kind of frosted her the wrong way.
I think that's valid. And some of the organizations, Job's Daughters was the last of the youth organizations to give up Masonic relationship because they felt like it was costing them members. DMLA at the beginning had to have a maybe sponsorship. I don't know if at the very beginning if you had to be blood related, but Job's Daughters for decades, up until just the last year or two, you had to have a Masonic relationship. So.
I would just think for membership reasons, it would open you up to a whole new world of ladies that might want to join.
And
pass that on at the national meeting.
I would say it does come up because these ladies, you're not leaving the house where you made dinner, and like the ladies organizations. Listen to me.
Predominantly ladies organizations.
The dues are less because clearly you would be getting that money from your husband who was working, because certainly it's not you, honey, making the most money in that household, and so those sort of things pervade, but. That's the balance. Do you know what I mean? How do we move forward and to stay relevant to people who are maybe ashamed they're married to a Mason? I don't know, but no, but she doesn't tell her friends. But I think there's room for that, but there are other organizations. That's like maybe this isn't for you. I don't know about Daughters of Mokana.
Yeah, so it didn't pass here, but now your husband. You said your husband was not into the Masons?
Totally not into the Masons.
Okay, so
he was like supportive of me because he's in love. He likes that but he was never doing that. That's fine. That's your family's thing. Have a good time with that. And then the last 2 Hoover boys were joining, and he just came home and said, so your brothers are joining the lodge. I put my petition in too. And I was like, I'm sorry. Who or what? And so now he's, served on the throne in Amaranth, and is currently the royal patron or the worthy patron for our Eastern Star chapter.
Whoa.
Wow.
He's in with both feet now. And
Whoa.
he likes lodge, but it's so funny because your wife is sort of, out on this. He loves it. And I know that not all Masons love this, but we love doing it, that it's our, thing that we do together. Maybe Eastern Star meetings are a sad excuse for date night, but it gets us out of the house together. So
No, I think it's kind of cool. When I joined, and I would come here to our Pennsylvania was an oddball.
right.
So maybe you can explain that, because for a while Pennsylvania did not recognize the Eastern Star.
Well, Pennsylvania Masons were not allowed to attend meetings, I think is the way it was stated. And I think it's an old power struggle. Not quite 100 years old until W. Scott Stoner lifted the edict.
And he's a Lancaster, former Lancaster, Lancastrian. Yeah, because I know when I used to come here, we'd be here having a meeting or something, and I'd see some Freemason in a tuxedo show up that I didn't know, and like we would import a patron from Delaware or Maryland.
Yeah,
because a Pennsylvania Mason wasn't allowed to open the meetings.
Yeah, and the same thing in Job's Daughters. There's a position there that is for the men, so that Masons have an involvement there. And so they had we all had a dispensation that women could serve in that position. So what's great about when we were in Montana, other places, it's so strange. But in Montana, there's couples who would get their 50-year pin in Eastern Star together because, they got married. She joined Eastern Star. He joined with her. All of those things, which is cool to have seen that.
Kind of cool.
It's very romantic. Your 50-year anniversary, your 50-year Eastern Star pin.
So, Larry, how come Carol's not into the Freemasonry?
Carol really doesn't have an interest, probably like your husband, Matt. Yeah.
And I know there's still hope for her, though. I mean, we got Matt Green in hardcore.
Yeah, you did, but there's no hope for Carol.
And what about your wife, Jason?
Not interested.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it?
Magic 8 Ball says, check back later.
Yeah, she. I don't think she'll ever cross over.
Carol mentioned something to me about the white dresses. And she said, it reminds me of a funeral dress. And
who gets buried in white dresses?
Lots of
the
people.
Chinese.
Her mother
Gowns?
Did. Her mother did.
Brides?
To be laid out.
Carol's mother did. She was Eastern Star.
Oh, okay.
I have a really good white dress. That's what I say all the time. Matt, if I get hit by a bus going home, please put me in the white dress. That's it.
Let's do something. Let's change a little direction here.
Ooh. Away from funerals? It was so great.
Away from funerals, away from the serious talk. Help me here understand something. What in the world is a honey queen?
Honey Queen is the national, I should say the American Honey Queen is the national representative for beekeeping in the honey industry. You spend a lot of time at fairs and fourth grade classrooms. That's where ag in the classroom is.
You were the Pennsylvania Honey Queen.
I was Pennsylvania Honey Queen, and then I was the first Pennsylvania Honey Queen to become American Honey Queen.
Yes. But
1996. So this is the 20th anniversry of my big national title.
Do you have a bee girl outfit from
No, I have a
Song?
tiara. I have recipe brochures, informational.
What was your connection to bees?
Just a family connection, someone who I had babysat from church because I had done Miss Job's Daughter and she knew that I could be in front of a microphone and a tiara. Hey, you, that'll be great for you. And so I became Pennsylvania Honey Queen on a yes/no vote because nobody else ran.
That's awesome.
Do we want to have a Honey Queen or not?
What I found interesting, I looked at Google, looked on Facebook, looked their images on Google for you.
Future guests, Larry will stalk you on Facebook before you sit behind the mic.
The crowns.
They're good.
Every time I saw a picture of you, you had some kind of a crown. Different crowns. How many crowns do you have?
I think it's 13.
13.
That's a little bit of a stretch because you have to count all the princess crowns for Job's daughters. You know, junior princess, senior princess, honored queen.
Okay.
DeMolay chapter sweetheart. Thanks, Nat Cromer.
Okay. You don't have to
State
go over
sweetheart.
all. That's all right. I'm taking your word for this. Now, you have 13.
I'm kind of creeped out.
13.
Kind of a big deal.
You're kind of a big deal.
In the tiara set, like if you're into that, yeah, that's always my thing. I'm like 100 pounds ago, I was a pageant
Are
queen.
you going to tell us about the other crown?
Uh-oh.
What other crown?
How
is
much
this?
research did you do?
I got a lot of good stuff on you.
He didn't share
Tell
it
us
with
about
me.
the crown that you wear every day.
Oh, somehow Larry knows about my tattoo. I'm guessing this is my dad.
Whoa.
I have a long way to go to get as inked as the other people at this table, but yeah, I have one tattoo. Until my boys get old enough, I figured like that's a good family bonding thing. My boys will be 18. We'll get family crest tattoos.
Well, I mean, Jason's the Marine.
Yes.
And Josiah's got a ton of tattoos.
Yes.
So, but
Secret Hoover fun fact: Jared was the first one with a tattoo.
Really?
Air Force.
Straight-laced Jared. That's shocking.
Wow. And Judah none because he's super
None.
straight lace. Yeah. Okay. All right. But he'll sell you a mortgage or something.
He's fantastic. Your hard money man, Judah Hoover.
Yes. Any other stalker questions, Larry? What else did you find out about?
One final stalker. Where's the tattoo?
Oh, it slipped below the equator, but it's on my hip.
Whoa.
One of the points that Jason and I, when we heard Larry was going to do this pre-interview with you, and we're like, Larry, please do not be too creepy.
He's fantastic, such a gentleman.
Larry, she's family. Like, let's just.
Isn't that the best part of it, though?
I
Really,
know the Masonic rule. Absolutely.
Okay.
for real though. In the morning, what my my next sort of Masonic function is. In the morning, I'm going to a funeral for, is a dear friend, and lost her dad, and she lost her mom 10 years ago, and so she caters with us. She is like the sister God didn't deal to us that my sister grabbed for us out of the Masonic family. We were in Job's Daughters together, and so once you're in somebody's life for 25 plus years, they're family.
That's nice. Well, it's nice that you guys are going there.
It's a better deal for us than it is for Tina, admittedly. Like,
Yeah.
she's part of the Hoovers, so she maybe should have chosen more wisely, but we'll keep her.
You guys are royalty in New Danville, so.
Yeah.
The Southern end
Jeez, how about Lancaster?
needs leadership.
Her grandfather was chief of police in Lancaster. Oh, this tremendous, almost cult-like family here.
You're not winning me any church points here with cult-like family.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, I think it's fair to say, I mean, just everything the Hoover family is involved in, and how great a mentor that Scott, your dad, has been, but your mom and dad, they cater how many different lodges in the district?
How many are there now?
There's 10. I think they do half of them, and you cater most of those with Tina and your sisters, and you guys are all involved in. Well, you're involved in youth group, and what else do you do in the district that's not necessarily an organization that you're involved in?
Oh, like we were all Bible quizzers too.
Well, you're also here. I see you. I don't come here because I hate First Friday. I went to my First Friday the other night, and I hated it. But you're here at our Masonic Center every First Friday. So tell us about that job that you got roped into.
The Lancaster Masonic Center, for those of you who don't know, is in downtown Lancaster, which is a fantastic centralized location in the guts of Lancaster. And so
Like the lower intestine area.
it's not a great location for a lot of things, but we're right on the cusp of First Friday, this big art walk and all the, movers and shakers in Lancaster here on First Friday. And so we have a market to try and get some of that money as opposed to money out of our own pockets. We always have food.
Do we do well with that?
It's been hit or miss, but probably during
Jason
the summer,
was
a little
saying
bit
there's
more
some
of a
really good
miss.
music plays outside.
Fantastic music. We're winning Jason for the kingdom.
No, it's
If you guys don't know, he's a musician. He's he sells guitars. He's very involved in the music business.
Now we got to be careful because those guys have all shopped with me when I was the general manager of Guitar Center.
Okay.
And they are fantastic.
But they don't have they never got lessons.
It's great. You know, I don't know if we want to blow up their spot on Masonic Light, but we can edit it if we decide not to.
Well, we didn't name them, so it's okay.
They take popular rock songs and they change it to be uber over the top Christian, which I'm sure is awesome in church, but you know, blasting down Prince Street in Lancaster just sometimes is a little much. And you know, Jona, you come from a religious family, and when I walked up this last First Friday, even Jona said to me, "They're a little heavy on the Jesus today."
Nice.
We want to be sensitive to Jason's needs.
That's a good segue. We're gonna go to break, come back, and we're gonna wrap this show up. The Red Serpent by Larry Maris. One man's obsession to avenge the death of his wife uncovers a long-hidden, ancient blueprint to perfect the world for future generations. Visit www.larrymaris.com. You can purchase this book anywhere except CVS.
This is Holden Green, and you're listening to Masonic Light, and we're back.
Hey, everybody. Good job there.
He sounds like a broadcast major. He's not even in 7th grade
He
yet.
needs his radio voice.
Exactly.
Yes. So, Jason.
Yes.
Are we going to do a little fun thing here right now? Is
Yeah,
that what we
absolutely.
said?
Let's do it. It is time for Masonic Light listeners. Get ready for Masonic Would You Rather. So, we're going to play Masonic Would You Rather.
Oh, game on.
So, normally we would pit you two different, totally awesome Masonic-themed questions, but we're going to change it just for you.
I feel special.
So, we need to set the stage. Pete and Larry are in Lamberton Lodge 476, and I'm in Lodge 43. And you get to interface with us all the time. And you have no opinions of either lodge, I'm sure.
Zero opinions.
All right.
Neither of your checks have ever bounced. We appreciate both lodges.
Well, that's good. All right. So, would you rather serve Actually, we should talk about chicken pot pie because for the majority of our listeners, chicken pot pie has a crust on the top. In Lancaster County, it does not. It's more like chicken and dumplings. Right. But we did it first.
But far superior.
Exactly. Who would you rather serve chicken pot pie to? 43 or 476?
Well, I would have to go with 43. Your meeting is second. Lamberton meets first Tuesday. Lodge 43 is the second Wednesday. We're closer to the end of the month. I'm almost out of this building. Lodge 43 wins.
Who can eat more chicken pot pie?
Lodge 43.
Oh, come on.
No.
You're on the
They have
476
it
team.
every other month.
I'm telling you, I have an answer for that. It's not about what lodge. It's about whether it's ladies' night or not. Because you can serve 40 men the same amount of food as 40 men and their wives. Because if your wife is not sitting next to you, you eat the amount of food she would have if she were there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
40 people? Oh, okay. Was it ladies' night? 80 people? Same order.
Who eats the most chicken pot pie? What individual member? I think
say
I'm looking
Pete.
at him.
Pete's in the running
Yeah,
for
you're
this
a monster.
one.
No, Larry.
Pete loves his Dutchy food.
I always go for at least a second.
Josh Palmer, past master 43.
Farmer loves it.
He's a beast.
TJ Mahaffey is a big fan of
Yeah.
the chicken pot pie.
I go with TJ as the winner.
I've cut back. I do 3, and that's it.
I saw you go 4 at the D. Malay thing.
Yeah, that's right. I did 4.
D. Malay's good pot pie.
Although they kept
Yeah, I did.
skimping the
Yeah.
servings.
Holden served that meal. That's what he said. He has a couple of tips for serving after that. He came home with, every time you take it back, somebody ate 8 servings, but they give you a little less every time.
Yeah, true.
All right, WrestleMania.
Game
We're going to
on.
put the officer line of 43 and the officer line of 476 in a ring.
Hold on, it's summer break. I haven't seen you guys in a while. Hold
Who
on,
remains
who do we have?
standing?
I might this is like a brains versus brawn question for real. The
Which one are the-
43.
which one are the brains?
No shit, right?
Sorry, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good,
Brains versus brawns. You
good
do the
way,
math.
Good way out. Yeah.
And
I think that 43 though looks intimidating. All the ink is, like you look intimidating at the net is what the problem is. People are like, how about those guys with the ink like on their neck?
yeah, our tuxes cover that up. Last question. Speaking about the way that we look, who is the
Speed.
better looking lodge?
You know what? Jay Keneal really brings it up for you guys in 43. Like he's a little spiffy down there. I appreciate that.
He puts the hipster spin on things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lamberton, we don't care. So
Lam-
if you guys can take the hipster prize, we'll let you have it.
I would have to think about who's the more jeweled. Lamberton does good. You guys all have the pocket protector name badge, which is a nice touch. But
Yeah, it's Pennsylvania.
we should maybe decide on past master night when everybody pulls out their big jewels to show off the bling.
But we're still not allowed to wear too much fun stuff in Pennsylvania.
Oh, is it different in other places? They have more Masonic bling?
Yeah, I mean, we're not even supposed to wear our past master's jewel anywhere other than the lodge. Yeah, there's all kinds of rules.
Too much flair.
Sounds
Yeah,
restrictive.
too much flair.
All right, well, that was our modified Would You Rather.
Good news, everyone!
Masonic Light News. News not fit to print.
Okay, so I don't have much for the news because it's summertime and there's not much going on. However, there's been an article circulating. This came from Independent Magazine, Independent, I think, co.uk. And this has made it across the Past Bastard, and even the guys on Masonic Roundtable have talked about this. And there's 2 different topics here. So Sky TV or Sky Network got the okay to come into the United Grand Lodge of England and actually do a documentary. And supposedly they got the okay to document some ritual. So a couple weeks ago, nobody knew what that meant. So it's surfacing that they're probably going to be able to document for documentary some ritual practice work. So first degree or something. So it's all kind of in a move to demystify Freemasonry in England. So on top of that, Independent went in and interviewed one of the current Grand Master, one of the past Grand Masters, and he said, we're trying to really make a play here to get more millennials in and demystify what we do. There's been a lot of implications about politicians in England, and we want to make sure that people know what's really going on here. Like Jona said, it's all about the pancakes. And he was quoted as saying, it would be probably a good idea if some of our senior members actually smiled once in a while.
Oh, come on.
So the membership is on decline. However, that millennial 21 to 30 demographic is on the rise. I think they're up about 7% at the moment. So, and the Independent pulled a picture from 1992 of their Grand Line. That was the picture at the top of their headline, and it was a bunch of men, obviously not smiling. So
The Pennsylvania Freemason is pretty much my go-to source for Masonic news, and so I couldn't tell if that article, when I saw it on your Facebook page, was like the Masonic version of The Onion, like if it was a legit story that they want you to smile, because I think that's one thing in that balance of tradition and relevant is you got to be nice to people once they get here. Like nobody came for Ritual Olympics night 1.
I mean, that's a good segue. We quote them almost every week on here, but there's a Masonic satire page, and it's called The Past Bastard. And they just recently did one on the Grotto, and I had to read it a couple times because it's so spot on that even though I know
This is legit.
Yeah, even though I know that it's satire, I'm like, this is pretty legit. And I'll just go down to the 3rd or 4th paragraph, but just saying how Grotto's having a resurgence because they're doing things a little different. And they're quoting somebody here, and it says, guys get tired of coming into an organization, getting hit up for a few $100 in fees, dues, pins, and all that stuff, and on top of it, getting hit up for even more money every time they come to a meeting. We want to be the anti-Shriners. Come down, have a good time, and we won't hassle you for money each week. That's a great ad. Yeah, I mean, that's great. So yeah, smile and maybe not like shake your members down for money and every week.
And be nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's great news, man.
That's all I got. That's the news.
That's the news.
Jona, I really thank you for coming tonight, being a guest. I hope we didn't offend you in any way.
Not at all. I knew what I was in for.
You have been a great guest, and actually, you had the distinction of being the first female guest. And let me tell you, not the last.
I hope not. That's the best.
Also, too, some special thanks to a few people, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Our thanks to our Scott Hoover painters, Masonic Scarves, and the Red Serpent. And a special thanks to our own Jason Lewis for Masonic Light Number 10's production. You did a bang-up job. We really do thank you and for everything you're doing for us.
Thank you.
Also, thanks to our podcast reviewer. We have a podcast reviewer? His name is Can't Stand the Noise. To our special thanks to our joke evaluator, Odessa Goodwin, and also our director, Rocco Ruggieri, who works diligently and hard 24/7, and he's currently involved in building our new studio. I wish you well. Be careful. Again, news director Jason Lewis for all the fine work he's doing. Our foreign correspondents who haven't checked in with us in a long time, Nada Worthy and I'm a Blather, they're in Afghanistan. What the heck they're doing in Afghanistan? I have no idea. Afghanistan. Jeez. And a special thanks to the Lancaster Masonic Center, who continues to let us record in their beautiful downtown Lancaster facility. Or else they really don't know we're here.
I think it's totally unsanctioned.
And
Don't
finally,
sign the book.
Finally, to our pseudonym consultant, Norm de Plume. Until next time, this is Larry.
I wish the radio could see me rolling my eyes. I'm physically sick hearing that.
Until next time, this is Larry Maris.
Yeah, I'm Pete. Bye.
Jason Lewis.
Jona Green, have a great night.
Have a great night, and we'll talk to you again. And with that, we'll start moving on to...
This is where...
What are we moving on to?
I guess
Larry's Ramblings.
Larry's Ramblings.
Oh.
Ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care. You just... Whatever you want to say in front of your son, that's your only limit.
No, that's what my dad said to me, like, a lot. Just don't swear on the podcast.
Swear all you want.
Do you swear a lot?
Thinks you're fucking vulgar.
Here's the thing. He doesn't advertise. He has a lot of business, and you can't call him either. It's like working with the Amish. No phone, no electricity. So if you're really interested in the quote, and you don't live in Australia, make sure he gets the message. We'll make sure he gets the message. Send us a note to our web address, masoniclight.com, and we'll make sure he gets the message.
How about we do it like a real commercial? Like, can we?
Oh, right.
You didn't like that?
Yeah, normally it'd be yes, but he's got a bad side effect. Yeah, how about we? I understand you want it to be funny, but how about we do it straight and actually like maybe give his phone number so somebody could contact him?
He doesn't want his phone number given. That's the whole problem. I said we would use our website at...
That's who you... I have to pre-qualify you. It's like the mob.
Yeah, no phone number.
Oh, my gosh. I want to roll around in those donuts.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.